What's up, everybody? A cosmic morning. TL. Got some Jupiter up here right now with 3 of the 4 moons. Callisto's all the way at the top right. Lower this a little bit. Yeah, so bottom left Ganymede, next up Io, and then right on the cusp of Jupiter is Europa. But yeah, I'm losing the view to the top of the window right now, so you saw when I took a deep, like a long exposure, you saw the whole right side. So I'm going to let it linger here on the wide shot. I was going to go in for the zoom, but I'm not going to try it because I don't have it in the reticle anymore. Anyway, Moon's coming up right behind Jupiter, and Saturn's going to come up right behind that. So I'm going to stream for a little bit, see if we can get all 3 of them. What's up, chat room? What's going on? Los Brooklyn. What's up, Nancy? What's up, Justin? What up, Timothy? What's up, Tree? What's up, Yo Q? I'm not saying it's Earlians, but it's Earlians. What's up, C Smith? Yeah, I was gonna crash, and then I looked outside and I'm like, all right, let me take a look, see what Jupiter's configuration is, and it looked like it was gonna be this. Like earlier, I kind of wanted to capture it because you can see Europa transited all the way across, and the Great Red Storm was moving through as well. And I noticed that like yesterday's stream of Jupiter was crazy. I watched it today, and it's just really interesting. There's this whole ridge line above the storm that's really defined. I wonder if it's just a particular time of Jupiter or it's just changing. Either way, super cool. So anyway, I had some clouds for a while, and I think it just kind of opened up. So I hopped on, saw Jupiter was looking good. Figure let's do a little stream. What's up, Kimmy? And I'm gonna let the music ride. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm gonna sit here. We'll do a little space tour. All right. What's up, everybody? Just hopping on to say hi to everybody just joining. What's up, See Lady Gold? How you doing? What's up, Doug? Take care, my man. Thanks for stopping by. Wish you the best. Anybody else I missed? Yeah, so I moved on from Jupiter, was losing that view, moved down to the moon, and still got a few clouds in the vicinity, but I feel like we're gonna get a clear shot in a few seconds, a few moments, and then hopefully Saturn will be up high enough above the clouds to see it before I gotta crash. Anyway, it's been a fun day today, getting on, but feeling good. I feel like right behind these clouds the moon's looking really sharp, so let's see what happens. What up there, Daryl? Yeah, what's going on? Oh, Daryl, you gotta take it easy. Peace. What's up, Copper Chops? How you doing? Morning. Yo, C. Smith. Need more lenses than your skill. Views are crazy. Sometimes, yeah, man, like, it takes a long time, a lot of practice, but I think you can get it down to a science, really, and then it's all up to the weather, as long as you got a good setup. I feel like now that I've finally figured out where to put the scope, and I just wait for the proper phases, and I let the sky give me the times to scope. And I feel it works a lot better than chasing it. But yeah, anyway, thank you for the compliment. Got a little more chill up in here. Probably sharpest tonight is going to be like north of Mare Crisium at the top near the Terminator. That's the most prominent feature, and then probably a little bit at the bottom right. The rest is a bit washed out. There we go. Clouds have moved. What's going on, Eton Chambers? All right, let's get some zoomed in shots here while we got it. Look at that. It's so cool. It has such a 3D look to it and especially at this particular phase. So of course, Mare Crisium, the two little islets, Pierce and Picard, the bright white crater to the mouth of it, bottom left corner is Proclus. Yeah, so those little craterlets that I was talking about are the little bump ridges. Like little egg-shaped dots that aren't. I always feel like they're extrusions and not craters, but either way, the one to the right is Picard, P-I-C-A-R-D, and the one to the left is called Pierce, and then there's a little one to the left of that that's called Swift. And these, for reference, are about 12 kilometers to about 18 kilometers across. Mare Crisium itself is about 620 kilometers all the way across this mare. So, for reference. There's another little crater underneath Picard. That's called, I want to say that's Lick. No, that's Greaves crater. And to the right of that is Lick. And that's that kind of indented, like flatter crater reaching up to the wall. The structure around the Mare Crisium at this phase is awesome. It looks like snake skin or like old wood. A little like Game of Thrones right there. I'm gonna switch up the lens a little bit, get closer. Kimmy, thank you for hanging out. That's what I love doing. But you're welcome. And yeah, if you want some more information, you can check out the descriptions of the streams or check out my archive videos. I've been streaming for a few years and caught a lot of interesting stuff. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. So I went and got rid of the extender tube. I still got the focal reducer in there, but getting a little closer to this whole area to the right of Mare Crisium. The kind of large crater that you see in the middle, the dark one, that's called Firmicus. And then to the bottom right of that, that's Apollonius, are these two kind of darkened craters. And what's so interesting, it looks like trees kind of twisting to the left and blowing to the right, like this awesome tree of life kind of structure. So much periodolia on the moon. Yeah, Eton, I saw that same video talking about getting a moon mission going by 2024. We'll see. It would be amazing if it happened. But a lot of missions have been like proposed and canceled in my lifetime, so forgive me for being skeptical. Let's check out this northern region of Mare Crisium, also looking really cool tonight. Lots of different features, like folds in the land, mini craterlets, and then like broken mountain features leading to a different like little pathway, little almost like a circular formation. Freaking awesome. For reference, I'm up here. Yeah. I feel like it just got clear. So leading off of Mare Crisium, there are a bunch of craters that go in a row. We got Cleomedes, Burckhardt, Geminus, Masala? Is that an L? Yeah, Masala? Chicken masala? No, but Messala. I wish they'd give like the reference to why this, oh, it does say it actually. Name origin, detailed name, Mashallah. 1st century Jewish astronomer born in Jerusalem, dead in AD 815. Alright, so I never scrolled on the right hand side to see the name origin, but I guess it has all the name origins for all the places, which is sick. That's a lot of good information. Just didn't look apparent. Alright, so what do we got? Cleomedes, Burckhardt, Geminus, Masala, and then Schumacher crater. Let's try it one more time. Mare Crisium to the very bottom right. Cleomedes, Burckhardt, Geminus, Masala, Schumacher, Carrington, and then Mercurius. That's cool. All of them visible in great relief. Great relief. Alright, let's look at this region. That's a bit further. This is Mare Humboldtianum, and I want to say that's Endymion crater, and De La Rue. Belkovich, Mare Humboldtianum is what's in shadow. So let's go in a little bit closer. Kimmy says, I'm so old that I watched the supposed moon landing on our black and white TV. So I take it you've changed, you believed it at the time and no longer do, or what are your opinions on it? Because I honestly am, while I want it to be true, I definitely have questions. Definitely have my questions about the solar radiation, survival rate, escape velocity, fuel, pressurized gloves, not being able to repeat it for 50 years. I mean, it seems kind of crazy that we have to wait till 2024 to even attempt to return. And they make a point in that video to kind of talk about how it's all this new technology and the SLS. We'll see. Like, I hate to be so cynical because I kind of don't want to be a conspiracist, but I definitely have questions. Anyway, Endymion, De La Rue, Strabo. Let's keep going along the Terminator line, looking at these neat features. Cast in shadow. Cusanus, Peterman, Schwab, Democritus, Arnold. Just naming a few as we go along. Hard to kind of even decipher which is which, but it looks like just like sharp, jagged features. Alright, coming up on the brighter side. Kimmy says, I knew it was effed up when I saw it firsthand. Was real weirdo. Les Brooklyn says, they did it all in 3 days. Was it like 6 days? 3 days? 6 days? Still, like, really the point is that it's just nothing short of a miraculous achievement that is so downplayed today that it's incredible. I just can't understand how we live in a society where we had men actually walk on the surface of the moon, return, survive, and we still live in a world with poverty and illness and no peace in sight. like it seems so incredible that those two things both coexist. So I feel like, you know, it's kind of easy to make people believe anything you want with Hollywood nowadays. And back in the day, I mean, you reassess that footage and it definitely looks strange. It just doesn't look correct, but it's hard to put your finger on it. So I understand how, like, there's so much stigma around the lunar landing conspiracy or not conspiracy and how people really believe that it happened. I mean, what really changed my mind was I was firmly on the side that you can't do it. It's impossible to do it. But when you really go through the footage, or at least the pictures on the Flickr account, which are like 8,000 photos from the Apollo missions, it seems like at least a robot with a camera went to the moon and took some pictures, because I guess you can go out with robots. My only real question is, like, can humans really exist outside of Earth in terms of, like, pure consciousness? Or do humans just, like, evaporate into the ether when you leave like 1,000 miles above the Earth? I wonder if we're just, like, tied to the frequency of Earth, and, like, they've been trying to send people up into space forever, and what happens is people just basically melt into plasma when you leave Earth. That's really, if you want me to take it down the mushroom rabbit hole, that could be one reason that humans can't leave, and that you can always send these robots, and they'll even, like, the Voyager stuff, Juno, all these missions send back these pictures that are almost impossible to get and almost impossible to fake. A lot of them you can fake, but a lot you can't fake, and I don't know, it's really hard to lean one way or another. To be perfectly honest, even if you were to push me to the very edge of conspiracy land, I couldn't tell you one way or another whether you can land or not on the moon. Les Brooklyn says, yeah, C. Smith says it's BS for sure. It is laughable. Les Brooklyn says, check out the live CBS 6-hour broadcast. Yeah, you know, like I spent a lot of time actually watching all the astronaut videos, all the different interviews, all the different, technical assessments. I've seen, the Kerbala space, simulation versions of it. I've listened to the audio tapes. I went through the entire Flickr account of photos, like one by one, looking at it, like really assessing it. And to be honest, it looks legit, but it also looks like BS at the same time, because it's like the achievement is of such magnitude that it just seems insane that we haven't replicated it, and no other country can replicate it, or can even try to replicate it right now in the future. Like, we're in the future. So how is it, like, just not, unless it's very easy to go and we just don't, it's not a public thing, which is also very possible. But the magnitude of the achievement is not, like, for me, it can't be this Cold War thing. Like, Cold War posturing is not a good enough reason, and that's not a good enough reason to just, like, even shrug it off as, like, say, oh yeah, we went to the moon, it was just this thing, we did this technical thing, and that's it. Yeah, we came back, and then the Russians gave up, and blah blah blah, because the technical achievement of getting to the moon and coming back and doing all the stuff that is in our history is just so unbelievable and so surreal that it just can't, I feel like it should be talked about every single day on the news and media. It should be made, like, there should be holidays about landing on the moon. It's that level achievement, and it's treated like, yeah, just some random shit that happened around Vietnam, around the Cold War. It's treated so stupidly in the media that it reeks of something. Am I stirring up the chat room? I'm just talking kind of while I'm looking at the moon, not really reading the chat. Let me jump back in here. Let's see. All right, 6-hour broadcast, I was talking about that. Birds, yes, I think there are birds. Oh, you mean passing? Probably. Eat all your fish, what's going on? Says Kubrick let everybody know he directed it in The Shining with Danny's shirt and the Apollo rocket, etc. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in The Shining, but like, it's less even that. It's more that everyone talks about like, why wouldn't they just go? I think really you have to look at the evidence. There are pictures of the dark side of the moon, of this part of the moon. Let's just take just that part of it, which is there are photos of parts of the moon that we can't take on Earth. So either a group of people can fake that to the point where it looks realistic, or there's a way to send a robot or a human being to the other side or to a different angle of our actual moon that we're looking at right now. So in that sense, there's nothing, no matter how much I want to believe in just wild things and just be super skeptical, you have to just look at those pictures and say, damn, like that really is a picture of another side of the moon that I can't actually take. Same thing with Saturn and Jupiter. There are shots of Saturn and Jupiter that, theoretically with a 100-inch telescope, you could take unbelievable shots of Jupiter or Saturn from Earth that would you could fake essentially sending a satellite there. But at the same time, there are shots of Jupiter and Saturn that look like they're there, like there are robots there. So, I don't know. Kimmy says, look at the vessel they traveled in. Most of my peers believed it happened. They were snowed. Interesting phrase. Lost Brooklyn says, yes, I think soft landing only. Tree climbing says, good point. Schumann resonance. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with human consciousness. I wonder, like, the whole electric universe paradigm, is it like, did a comet come by Earth and somehow spark consciousness as we know it, like human level consciousness? Maybe things were at a much lower level frequency due to the magnetism, and maybe the comet or the interaction with other celestial bodies created a certain type of electrical system on the Earth that supports what we have now evolved into as consciousness. I mean, and then leaving Earth, you break this bond with the frequency of the magnetic flux, and all of a sudden people just basically die or melt, or I think they just die. Let's see. +2-3 Van Allen radiation belts. I've never really been so really clear on the whole Van Allen radiation belts. I know how deep that rabbit hole goes, but even Jarrah White, who talks about that in detail, like really ended up kind of nowhere with it. Because, like, why didn't the Israeli lander recently take measurements of the VAB, and other craft that leave Earth should constantly be measuring the radiation going through the radiation belts? But I guess that's maybe happening, maybe not. Eton Chamber says, it looks unreal because it's nothing we've seen before. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, looking at the moon now for a few years and showing it to you now, like zooming in on this moon, it doesn't really look the same. This looks somehow quote unquote real, and the whole Apollo mission, all the photos look somehow really staged, even though they look real. There's something about it there, it's either, I read it today again, it's this trope that's constantly perpetuated about the whole star myth, about exposure and ISO and how many stars are in the background, or like depth of field stuff, and it's always leaned upon as like, oh no, you'd have to have this special type of camera. But really it's silly, because all cameras can take stars and planets, and they have been able to forever. And to say that scientists don't plan for that, or don't set up every spacecraft to have aperture enough to take star photos and planetary bodies in the same shot because they all focus at the same distance is ridiculous. So it's always talked about, everyone says blah blah blah, but really, like, I've shown it countless times that you can take shots of both Jupiter and its moons at the same level of exposure. So anyway, damn, I'm going off on some rants over here. Kimmy says NASA lies and people dies. Eat all your fish, yep, because it didn't happen. I agree. Hello people, what's up Miguel Gonzalez? Justin says, who gives a damn? I don't know, it's just something to talk about tonight. Les Brooklyn says, the fact that they say now the moon is in our atmosphere, they overlooked that for 20 years. You know, that makes me think of the whole idea of, you know, the way you actually travel to other planets and things essentially is you start orbiting Earth in a wider and wider orbit, and eventually you kind of merge with the orbit of another celestial body and somehow switch gravitational fields or somehow merge, do this flyby thing where you slow down when the orbital fields intersect. And so the fact that the Earth's atmosphere extends out 300 or so thousand kilometers and kind of interacts with the moon's atmosphere, you know, is one way that you can release a craft going around Earth in an elliptical orbit and somehow land on the moon, I guess is how it's happening. But at the same time, if you look at the Apollo kind of like figure 8 drawing and the way they kind of left through the radiation belts, it kind of defies this logic of larger and larger orbits. It looks like they went directly, like slingshotted around Earth and then went to the moon on a trajectory. And so, I don't know, there are some discrepancies for sure. And plus, if you see like some of the Kerbala space program simulation versions, it doesn't really, I mean, some people have matched it up, but there are certain parts of it that don't match up all the time. I can't say specifically right now, but I definitely remember watching those, being like, it's hard to go one way or another. What's going on, everybody? Eiffel Tower was a Tesla tower. Long live Tesla. I mean, Tesla was just one of many, but Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, Faraday, a bunch of people, a bunch of amazing, brilliant citizen scientists who are also probably paid by certain people. We're pushing a whole other type of science 100 odd years ago, probably more. And now we live in this crazy reality of still burning oil and not having like a proper space program. And still have these articles which are such a joke to me where they're like, this is the reason NASA is broke. And I'm like, like seriously? Like, how does that have anything to do with anything? Like, if the powers that be wanted to fund NASA, they would fund NASA. And so it's crazy to like have a space program and also not have a real space program. And also somehow there's enough money and enough power at NASA that they essentially sponsor or control almost every other space agency like JAXA and the ESA and yeah. I'm gonna take a little walk around and see if Saturn is coming up. Yo, what up, Z Proxy? You've been listening to me talk at all? Because I've been going off on a tangent, my man. Shoutouts across the pond. Alright, I was just about to take a little break. Freaking Matrix. Wander through the streets, fly away from a sinking body. Got dragged into this place, back from time and space. I was in line for another party. Just mama little came along and asked me where the hell I thought I was going. What's up, y'all? Just hopping back on here for a sec. So, got rid of the focal reducer, got the Sony directly on the 11 right now. It's looking crazy cool, especially here at the Magnification area. So I'm just going to zoom in here. I'm also sort of losing the moon to the window because now it's rising. The moon and Jupiter, and actually Saturn is not, but the moon and Jupiter are rising further and further south. So getting the scope at the angle of the window, right and top, is getting blocked. Each night is a little more difficult. But either way, still a killer shot right now. Got some chrome fantastic up in here. What up, Corey? What's going on, my man? What's up, Mark the Shark? What's happening? And let me know if I missed you. If you want to shout out, what's up, 24/7 Live Skies? Yeah, so I was saying that Magnification over here on the left side is looking very hexagonal. I just hadn't noticed it as much, but really clear. What up, what up? Bottled moon water. Yeah, speaking of which, while this is over here, I'm gonna grab myself a quick drink. I'll be right back. Ellie, sorry. Hi, Ellie. You know you're my girl, so if I missed you, I'm sorry. How long have you been here? Since the beginning? I didn't see you comment for some reason, otherwise, but I think I'm actually like sitting a little too far away tonight. I got some crap in the way. Let me get a little closer here. Let's see. Corey says sometimes you just gotta leave the wife and kids at home and hit the woods solo. Oh yeah. Kimmy says big ass parasite right there. Are you looking at the moon pareidolia? Alright. Let me reset this for a second. Hanging out Maxie. Alright. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love away. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love away. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love. Oh no, that's no problem. I just didn't notice for some reason. But yeah, when I was rambling earlier, I missed a whole bunch of comments. So anyway, good to see you. Going for a little bit longer. We're gonna definitely get a shot of Saturn tonight. I wanted to do it last night, but I was too wrecked. We're gonna get a little shot tonight, for show. I was gonna say, Corey, you were talking about like playing my music out in the woods. That's freaking awesome, man. That's such a nice thing to hear. I'll tell you what I did actually. Last night after the Jupiter stream, I laid on my back porch on my yoga mat and laid upside down looking at the moon and Jupiter for like a solid hour and a half probably, just like meditating on it, and that was unbelievable. I was like fighting the urge to want to stream. And being like, no, I just gotta sit and experience this for a moment. So last night was pretty incredible. I'm feeling you on that nature, and thanks for all the compliments. Cooking up some new stuff, and I'm also losing the view right here as I read. All right, so. play this back. I think the moon crispiness has transpired. I'm gonna move on to Saturn while I still got some energy. Yeah, saying a lot. Let's go for strut.
Boxes and boxes, your infinite toxins, all got something to say. Indestructible ideas are vanishing, aimlessly wandering away. The nation crawls, insatiable, into your nighttime activities, your liberties. What can you say? You're my sister and I love you forever. You're my brother and I love you forever. Love you forever. I recall I knew the sun, additives, foreign greases. All we know is from the one shut down. The healing runs and God erases. Won't you tell me what you like, what you need, what you need? I got so much love for you, and I can say, yeah, you're my sister and I love you forever. Just find the time to lift your eyes and notice you. You're my brother and I love you forever. Just find the time, just find the time, just find the time, just find the time. You're my sister and I love you forever. You're my brother and I love you forever. Just find the time, just find the time, just find the time to love you forever. Just find the time, oh, and don't stop. Feel what you feel, you got to know when to speak. Better believe me, this is what you seek. Love what you know, you got to learn how not to fall. Better believe it, want to tell you all. Think what you want, but I can't listen to the news. Better believe me, soon we cannot lose. Oh, bleed how we bleed, you got to know just when to heal. Better believe
of Saturn up here, and it is, I think there's a bunch of atmospheric turbulence right now. It's rising, and it's also behind like some phone lines or power lines. Not too bad. I got the 3X Barlow in there, and you can kind of see right now it just kind of got a little bit clear. You got some good color on the middle band and separation on the outer ring ever so slightly. Yeah, Kimmy, this is Saturn, like from a home telescope. It's kind of incredible that we can look that far into space, hundreds of millions of miles, or no miles at all, whichever way you look at it. It's instant access to deep space. I'm gonna stay on this particular zoom for a second and see if it clears up. It'd be nice to get like the whole Saturnian system, I was thinking, but I'm not going to switch up the lens now that I have this in sight. So let's hang out here for a bit. You know, the kind of speed that you notice on the turbulence is, I feel like it's in our skies, you know? It's what passes over us at like 10, 15 kilometers. It's like all the different air currents being pressed at a certain pressure gradient. And that's that kind of scintillation that we see across the moon, and especially like Jupiter, Saturn, and stars. Remind me before, well no, remind me. I'll remind myself, but before we shut down tonight, I'll do a little, somebody asked me for a star capture. I haven't done that in a while, so there's a star up there. We'll close out the show with a close-up of like a nodal electric Z-pinch star, a Z-proxy star. I gotta say, the joy of having an 11-inch scope is definitely getting to see Jupiter and Saturn at this one level more magnification. From an 8 to 11 is just that little extra jump where you can see the outer rings and you can see proper separation. This is actually not the best seeing, honestly. Last night's Jupiter was pretty epic, and I feel like as Saturn rises earlier and earlier, we'll get better shots of it. But still, it's incredible to get this kind of, it's just nuts. You know, the other thing though is like you have this kind of, when you first get a telescope, you have this expectation that you're going to see like what you've seen in the media on Saturn, like these close-up shots, and it's completely the opposite. Saturn is just tiny, and you're lucky if you get any detail at all. Like the day I got the 8-inch scope and I saw Saturn and Jupiter, I was like, damn, I need an 11-inch scope. Like literally the first day I had it. I was like, no, I'm gonna learn. Yeah, what's up, Arwin? Says, is Saturn oval? Well, I feel like all spheres in the universe are kind of stretched ever so much, so they're almost all spheroids, but a little bit flattened. Right now, like, the image is probably distorted by the lens, by the atmosphere of Earth, like our magnetosphere, tons of space, and the ether itself is just magnetized, so I feel like the image we're actually getting from Saturn right now is distorted to many degrees, in fact. But we still get to see, you know, the general outline of what it looks like, is my thought. Yeah, Mark the Shark says oblate spheroid. Yeah, so the ring at this particular time in our existence in 2019, Saturn is tilted like this, but about 20 years ago it was tilted the other way. And if you look up Damien Peach and or other astronomers who took pictures of Saturn, around the turn of the century, they have images of Saturn on, the flip side of it. Not the flip side, but the bottom side, and the rings. And there are pictures even from around, 1999, where the rings are like literally on their side, and you can. Is it 99? No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 92 or something like that. But there were astronomers taking pictures of Saturn at all these different angles, I guess, of the rings. So Saturn tilts and wobbles. Eton Chamber says, what size is after the 11-inch? There's a Meade 12-inch, right? And then in terms of, a Schmidt Cassegrain, you have things like the C14. There's a 14-inch, which is just kind of a beast, and you really need to have it set up somewhere that you don't move it. It's just like super duper heavy. This 11 even, I don't move around a lot. Every so often I'll have to just slide it because I have to hit the angle, but you don't really want to move these things around. So there's a 14-inch. Then after that, if you really have like a Schmidt Cassegrain or an SCT, not an SCT, a RASA or a Schmidt Cassegrain, then anything over a 14 is just going to be way too expensive and way too heavy. Then you have these different types of scopes, which are called, God damn it, escaping me right now. The 12, 14, 17, 21-inch Dobsonian scopes that are kind of a tent scope where you have a box and a mirror that you put on the ground, and then you put this kind of frame over it, and you kind of move it around like that. And some of them have motorized bases. And so it's different types of scopes. So you have kind of a range of consumer grade scopes that go from like, there's the 11, 14, 17, and then when you move into $20,000, $30,000 range, you can get a 17-inch or 21-inch telescope, which is crazy. Just double the aperture of this. And if you get it custom made, sometimes they have mirrors that are even faster. So it's also about collecting light. So this is a 11-inch scope that is an f10. So every time you add a Barlow like magnifier, for example, right now I have the 3x on it, it multiplies that aperture, that multiplies the f-stop. So this is a 30f right now. So the amount of light that's coming in is really minimal, and I need to use a ton of gain, like the ISO, and push that up so we can see Saturn the way we see it right now. That's a lot of technical stuff for saying that it's just such a game of like, signal to noise and aperture, and also good skies, and yeah, there's a range of scopes up there that look amazing, but you really need like a proper base for it, like a cement base in the backyard and a ton of money. The 14 is like in the 7,000 range, 7 to 10,000 if you get a proper mount for it. Like the mounts are really like about the same cost as a good scope. So I wouldn't really get a C14 with anything less than a $3,000 mount. So the mount plus the scope probably run $10,000, and then you need specific gear to run a 14-inch scope. But 14, if you look at like what I said, Damien Peach's stuff, he was doing it a lot with the 14-inch, and it's just unreal what you can get, especially in dark skies. It's like, if you imagine that this is in the middle of an urban area in the backyard, and we're seeing Saturn the way we do right now from inside a house, pretty much, from a back porch. Yeah, so 14-inch in dark skies can probably do a lot. There's a whole thing. Yeah, Eat All Your Fish says, Kimmy, the theory is interesting. Saturn is the generator that projects the matrix onto the Earth via the moon. The moon's the amplifier, right? I would say that there's a much more reasonable explanation for Saturnian worship, and that is via the electric universe, that I've been talking about a lot. I always talk about. The idea that we were probably living within the sheath of proto-Saturn, and then we got our oceans and water from Saturn when Saturn exploded, or it had some interaction with a comet, and Mars and Earth are remnants of the Saturnian system, which is why we have a real tie to Saturn, and now we look at it with reverence, but almost all our archetypes and things like Saturnalia Festival and Saturday, even, you know, names of the week, and all our mythology is based on mythic archetypes that our ancestors wrote down and passed on, and it was stuff they saw in the heavens, in the skies. That was their gods. So what we're looking at right now is just a tiny remnant of that history. And I don't think it's like, I mean, I think it can be used for good and evil, and cult worship and ritual stuff is its own separate thing, but the tie-in with space is much more reasonably explained via actual historical space events that were witnessed by our ancestors and then passed down to us via mythic archetypes. Like, seems the most reasonable explanation, not aliens, not like, not conspiracies, just honest to goodness, like every culture about 7,000 to 12,000 years ago wrote down the same type of symbols that they all saw. And so, yeah. Eton Chamber says, okay, I'm sold, I'm dropping some money on a telescope. Yeah, man, I would definitely recommend like starting with like a 6 or an 8-inch telescope. It's in the $1,000 range, and you can get like I would definitely also get a good mount and learn how to use the mount. I read so much on like Cloudy Nights forums and all these different forums on buying your first scope. I spent a year researching before I bought anything. And I got lucky that I committed to a Sony camera ecosystem with the A6000s series, and then I committed to Celestron with the fork arm mount and learning the Schmidt Cassegrain. And so committing to one model and one type will get you to, being able to just point it at a place in the sky and just be like, there, I got it. I still can't do that with like deep sky objects, but I've gotten very good at planetary, just at least Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, and the Moon. I've gotten decent at. But yeah, the deep sky stuff is a whole other thing as well, like where you get mounts and tracking and PhD tracker and stacking images. There's a whole world to discover. Dare I say, universe. Kimmy says they used the truth and twisted it. I mean, but so many myths are distorted. I mean, we have public myths in schools, and science myths, and political myths that are not even conspiracy myths, that are just public and right in our face. But anyway, I was going to say, like, the idea that there's a government conspiracy that connects with other conscious beings on other planetary bodies and then controls the Earth using this system is more far-fetched than the fact that like Saturn itself is conscious and the Moon is conscious within a dielectric conscious ether, where we're all interconnected as conscious beings, and that things like Nibiru don't exist, and things like the progenitors living in the rings of Saturn, or like the face on Mars, things like that I don't think really need to exist in order for the universe to be just incredible at its just given value. Doesn't look like it's getting too clear. I feel it was the same way last night, like Jupiter was awesome and then Saturn was just like not having it. I feel like it's either probably at a certain time in its orbit where it's further away, or in a different part of space where it's causing like mega turbulence. I've definitely gotten better Saturns. It feels like that time when Mars was close and then far away, and it was this crazy difference where you could really see all the detail and then you could barely see Mars. Yeah, I was gonna say Eton, so start off with like a 6 or 8 inch scope, good mount, and then like commit to kind of a camera system, because that also really helps to be able to quickly change memory cards, download files, interact with your camera quickly is one of the more important parts of doing space footage, because looking with the eyepiece is a lot of fun, but if you're interested in streaming or capturing, you have to like get a real sense of the camera, so you can do it in darkness and also quickly when you see things. And yeah, that was a big part of it for me, is learning the whole camera system. I mean, what I'm saying is not that there aren't potentially rituals based on Saturn mythology and crap going on like that. There's probably definitely that. But I'm saying that in the larger scheme of actual human interaction with the planet Saturn, or like Jupiter, for example, is a much more pure interaction, and in a sense of, even right now, like you're all connected to Saturn, and I'm connected to Saturn individually, but similarly, I'm bringing an image through this piece of glass, through this other camera, through this sensor, into this other computer, through these wires. I said this last night, and I was laughing this morning. I thought, it's so crazy, like the fact that these pixels are being sent to you, but at the same time, you can go outside and just look to the east, depending on where you are, and you can see Saturn rising yourselves, and it's the same piece of data, same information coming at you from two different angles, completely different, almost metaphysical ways. Yeah, Les Brooklyn says, read the book by Alan Watts. Man, if I tell you, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent listening to Alan Watts, the true master, true spiritual healer in a way. His voice and the way he phrased things was just, in a way, not too perfect, just broken enough. And calming, talk about soothing audio. Listening to him really is a soothing experience. But also, you almost trust him in a way that you don't trust other healers and other teachers. I mean, what Alan Watts really points out in a very fundamental way, though, is that we're both, the devil and the God, and that, at some point or another in this system, this giant conscious system, we emerged as a version of God that had to keep itself asleep and that no longer wants to wake up. And so we dream this dream that seems like a lifetime. And what was it? He was talking about this. He put it in this context of, you know, if you had the ability to go to sleep and dream any dream you could dream, you know, the first night you'd dabble and you'd have all the fun you could have and all the food you could have, and then the next night you'd go a bit further and a bit further. It's a little like the Westworld scenario. And by the end of it, you'd want to get to the point in the dream where you no longer, you know, you'd start risking more and more stuff until ultimately you'd forget that you were actually dreaming. And this is where we are now, in this place where it seems like we're on the verge of waking up all the time. But in fact, we ourselves have put ourselves to sleep. So this whole they is in fact we. And thinking about it like that makes a lot more sense, I think, because ultimately the futility of life and the guarantee of death puts every philosopher at a certain juncture where you can no longer even decipher the universe, simply because you have no control over your physical reality, your real body. In a way, we're just starting to get a sense of like how to control the body and the brain. And who knows? Who knows if we'll ever be able to answer that true question? I think it makes a lot of sense that evil just exists as part of us, and we want to keep things really dangerous and exciting. And even the crazy radicals are just extensions of our own. And when I say our, I just mean each and every one of us is the Godhead at some point, experiencing everyone else's reality simultaneously through this interconnected dielectric medium. And somehow we are on this little droplet called Earth, in this little bubble of magnetism that allows us to perceive, possibly. Maybe we weren't supposed to perceive, and maybe some comet passed by and triggered some electrical bacteria on Earth, and that was us that came to somehow be able to self-reflect as little bubbles in a giant bubble, like the holographic rose and the little flower reflected on the water droplet infinitely. That's all of us, you know. But truly, it's one droplet. Look at that, video output low. As soon as I start talking about shit like this, frames dropping. So I'm still stuck here with Saturn and y'all. Anyway, that's my thinking on that, because, I mean, how can you really fix things? Everyone, you know, we're born into sin, as they call it, but what is sin really? It's just living. None of us can, quote unquote, break the wheel. Let me know if y'all are still with me, chat room. I feel like it says video output low and everything just came to a halt, but if you're still with me, give me a shout. There we go. Kimmy says, but the old timer knew so much more. The ancient people, they were accosted a very long time ago, and enslavement began. I don't disagree that there's slavery, but at every level there's there are different levels of slavery in every system. There's slaves and masters, in a way. You can't really get away from that structure, even though there are politer ways to exist within it. Cool, yeah, that went back to green right now, so that's cool, thank you. I don't know, I was trying to have a stream of consciousness thought about life and death, because it's something, you know, that happens so frequently, and so what seems unfair, it seems so unfair, right? But it's really just, it's very ruthless. Existence is so ruthless, especially when you watch insects and birds and and trees and just things getting uprooted and destroyed, and there's this real destruction part of the universe that also brings life, you know? And so we're part of that, but somehow we also reflect on our lives in this way that wants some part of us to be immortal or immortalized in a fashion. And so, like, why do we really want that? Is that conditioning? Is that social conditioning? Is that part of our dream, is to want to be remembered forever? And what does that serve? And if it serves the ego, what is the ego? Especially after you die. You know, how can you check if people remembered you? Copper says PPP, that's all I gotta say, exactly. I'm just taking your advice.
but you.
All right, my peeps. I think that's it for me. This has been a fun one. Yeah, Saturn looks like it's not going to get much clearer than we had it. And it's rolling on to 2. I should get some rest. Thank you all so much. C. Smith, Kimmy, appreciate you hanging out. Welcome to the stream and hope you stay. Hope I'll see you next time. Miguel, my man, take it easy. Eton Chambers, thanks for hanging out. Ellie Wynn, girl, take it easy. What else we got? Tom, take it easy, my man. Stay flat. Copper, what's happening? Hope you have a great night. What else we got? I know Vision was here, right? Vision was here. Lost Brooklyn. .24/7. Thanks for the reminder. Sleep well. All right, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, on some waning moon stuff. Be well, be safe, be space. See you soon.